Hi, everybody. It's Mary Beth Decker with sacredgrove.com. And today I'm interviewing Becca Weinstein. And we have got some exciting things to talk about. But let me tell you this interview first. Let me tell you the bio. I'm a little excited, so excuse me. Um, I have to read it. Becca Weinstein has always been drawn to wellness and well-being. She has worked in both the public and nonprofit sectors, as well as international and community endeavors. At some point, she decided to seek her own physical and spiritual healing and balance through her energy experience. This decision led her to training in massage therapy, holistic health coaching, and energy work. An intuitive empath, Becca continues to strengthen her own system so that she does not take on others' stress and trauma. Instead, she experiences these gifts in their highest form. And Becca's an artist. Her art serves as a powerful medium for the energy work and intuitive knowing that flows through her. She loves connecting with animals and being in the natural environment. This brings her focus back to living each day as an adventure filled with joyous possibilities, magical messages, guidance, and connection. So, welcome, Becca.
Hi, Mary Beth. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. So, tell me a little bit about what your intuitive journey has been like and how it got you to where you are now. Just go for it. Let us know how things started and how you got here.
Okay. Well, hindsight is 2020. So I can see the thread that weaves through all my varied experiences. Even when I was relatively young, I would joke around how I'd lived many lives in this one life, like even in my 20s. And it really has been a journey. I was a very sensitive child, really aware of the energy and the emotions and everything around me, but no one around me related in that way. And so I shut it down. It didn't feel safe to share what my experience was because no one else experienced anything in that way. And then it even carried forward into my adult life where I didn't understand the extent to which I was an empath and that I was experiencing other people's emotions. And I just kept doing work and my inner work and my inner work, and it was just not going anywhere. um, and I realized over the last number of years now, more recently, how much was getting into my field. And I was confusing it for my own. And so that began my journey of, okay, let me strengthen my own energy integrity. Why couldn't I ground? I did all the things. And that it was just virtually impossible because there was so much interference happening. It was just an endless flow. But as I've learned to strengthen, it clears that out. And then, oh, okay, I can deal with my own stuff and I can hear more clearly. Because for the longest time, I didn't fully trust. I didn't trust my experience. I didn't trust my intuition, even though everybody around me would be like, you're so intuitive. Like, why are you struggling with this? But it wasn't clear to me because of all of that noise, I guess. And and that's just led me, so, like really bringing it back to one step at a time, one moment at a time, less of that future thinking, okay, when I get here, then I'll be able to, and just really bringing it back, clearing it out, and then realizing rather than this disconnection, which had come from building up all those defenses. Um, so feeling really kind of isolated and apart, even though I was participating in the world in all kinds of big ways, most people probably wouldn't have realized, but my own inner experience was that. sense of separation. And just as that dissolved, then the listening and the knowing and the trust became more clear and more present. And I became aware of, as soon as I open up to it and put my attention and ask for guidance, for support, to experience that connection, messages show up everywhere, everywhere. And everything potentially is a reflection of that and is guidance for us, from the robin that shows up on your morning walk to the blue jay that shows up outside your window. Like, everything carries its own particular energy signature. And so there's just, the particular flower, you're walking in the woods and you see a lady slipper. And then to the animals in our lives as well. I found more and more like, oh, there's a reflection happening here, with our loved animals, with the ones, and so much communication and guidance and mirroring that's available to guide us on our journey.
That's so cool. Yeah, I know about that. I know that animals have their own, I like to say, a personality, peculiarities and preferences, and yet sometimes they are giving us messages, whether they're wild or they're our friends and family. But I love that. But you told me a story about a dog, and it's a fascinating story, and there's so much intuitive wisdom in this story that because I'm an animal communicator and people want to hear stories like this. Becca, would you tell us about what your experience was with this dog?
Yes. So it's a number of years now. And we went to, it was like a public art space. I'll just say that. And the owners had their pets present. They had 2 Great Danes, so lovely, so beautiful, and so friendly, like 2 of the sweetest dogs I have ever connected with. And so I had been introduced to them, and there was a connection, and it was wonderful. And one was an older male Great Dane, so large dog.
Yes.
And he was about 13, that's way up there for Great Danes. And then the younger female dog, I think she may have been maybe 4 or 5. And as we were leaving, I went to go say goodbye to him. And he was resting in the sun and everything, but his eyes were open, so he could see me coming. I reached out to pet him, and he bit me. And that began a months-long journey. As soon as he realized he bit me, I could tell his whole energy shifted. And he felt so just sorry and kind of in shock over what had happened, much like I was, because that
Yes.
wasn't how I had experienced him.
Right.
Yeah. And immediately the younger dog, she came over to me. I sat down and, was bleeding, and I was kind of in shock and going into shock. And she came over and was just licking and loving on me and everything. And I didn't know what was happening. And then this whole story unfolded, where there had been incidents before. And his people were trying to keep me from going to get medical attention, because they knew that it would lead to him being taken away and being put down. And I didn't go right away, because I thought, oh, well, it's not that bad. It's just my little finger, I'll be okay. But by that evening, it was starting to it was bad. It was bad. I needed to go. It turned out that it broke the bone. the bite, I mean, it's a big dog, strong jaw.
Yeah.
And it could have led to a bone infection, which then can lead to death. So, so
Yeah. So you need to go get medical attention.
exactly. And, you know, it weighed on me because here I am thinking like the last thing I want to do is cause this dog harm. However, my journey with it, sitting with it and connecting to him and with the younger dog and the energy, I actually just felt gratitude.
Gratitude.
There was a sense that his people loved him so much that it created such an attachment that they were holding him beyond the point that his body could function. It turned out that, and it apparently with Great Danes, it's something that happens the older they live, they start to get Alzheimer's. So they're not fully present. He was not the one who bit me. He wasn't there. But that's a danger, you know, but he couldn't let go. He couldn't let go on his own. And apparently I had things to learn because there were ripple effects. I couldn't work for months. I had to go through PT, had to deal with insurance and lawyers. Like, I mean, it was a big thing, unfortunately. And with this dog, you know, having, you know, have him transitioned.
Yeah, he was released.
Exactly.
And yet you felt gratitude. What I was hearing when you told this is gratitude and thank you. Finally, I've been ready to go for a while. Somebody got the message. Fine. I'm expanding, but that's what I'm hearing. Is that?
That was exactly it. That was exactly the sense where he was like, oh gosh, thank you. And also I got the sense he did not want to be responsible because he couldn't be, because it wasn't him, but he had almost injured a child prior, you know, and as a being, he didn't want that. He didn't want to cause harm to anybody, and yet he could not let go. And you know, I see that sometimes in general, you know, it's difficult to let a loved one go.
Yeah, I have to say, before working as an animal communicator, I never understood why one would decide to let their animal go if they were young, and like, isn't there hope? But I met a few. I met an older horse who also was starting to have those problems, and a 1,000 to 1,200 pound horse. I actually saw beforehand that her person had to be careful because the horse was going to hurt her, and she didn't. It wasn't terrible, but it was still scary, and they made the decision to let her go. A younger dog, and when I checked in, it felt like there was a glitch in the brain, like there was just something there, and that dog wasn't doing it on purpose. But the problem was you couldn't predict when it was going to happen. And when it was going to happen, it was a full out attack in this case, in this family. So what helps me understand the decision also is that you're giving them a chance to clear all that stuff out in the afterlife and figure it out, let it go, and if people believe in it, and come on back and get another chance. So you haven't, that's not the only life. But there's times where safety's sake, they need to be transitioned to their next life. That's a good one. Thank you for sharing that so much. I want to shift a little bit because that's really deep, but tell me what your work is about. and it's with people more than dogs. So just tell me about that a little bit.
Yes. So I would say kind of the umbrella that the various services and different kind of work that I do falls under empowered alignment. So, and again, so much of this comes from my own personal journey of learning and experience and then integrating those different things as I've experienced growing the integrity of my own energy system. Uh,
I like that.
yeah, it's like it clears out so much stuff that we don't realize we're permeable to, that creates interference in our own emotional, energetic system, can create the confusion of not trusting our intuition, and keeps us from living in alignment with the truth of who we are, and then allowing our unique energy signature, because each one of us is having a very different experience and is here to do so, and is here to just enjoy and adventure and share what we have to share. And we can't do that if all that interference is happening, or if we're bombarded or continuously knocked down in some way, um, because our system isn't strong and we're not clear in ourselves. So
I
I
got
work, yeah.
I do. I have a question about that because when I was learning energy healing, the big go-to for that issue was to set boundaries, to shields, and I've come because of guidance from people like you to say, "Oh, there's another way. You strengthen your own energy." Um, can you talk a little bit about that? Because it was like new to me to think that there's a better way.
Yeah, definitely, because that never resonated with me either. Like through massage school, through just, as I explored different things and did the energy work, it never felt right, because it also felt like my body and my energy field was part of the instrument, or the processing, just even right now, you and I are in each other's energy fields. And all the other people listening, we're creating a coherence here by joining together, um, beyond space and time. So whenever somebody happens to be listening this, and so it never sat with me, because it felt like my system actually helps process for people, but it's difficult to do that if your own energy system and the natural boundaries that come from being in integrity with all the different aspects of our own energy field. If that's not there, then it's collapsed and the boundaries aren't there. But yeah, boundaries, how a lot of people talked about it, to me felt like, no, building walls and defenses, and it felt almost violent in its like reaction, and yeah, basically it felt very reactive.
That's it exactly. That's a great way to explain it.
Yeah, and we're not in our power when we're in that space.
That's right. It's a defensive posture, isn't it? It's yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay. So what what's it like to work with you?
Okay. Well, one of the things that I do is a foundation session. So having an initial session that's it's 2 to 3 hours, and we go really in depth, looking at your energy signature, different. I pull on different tools to kind of prepare for the session, from human design, gene keys, just getting a sense of some of that stuff, and then we show up together, and I open up, because by showing up, there's permission there. So I'm always very careful. One of the things I've discovered, I'm a super receiver. Awareness and information from all levels comes in, and I've learned to just kind of turn it on, turn it off intentionally. And that's a learning too, that I didn't even realize, oh, I can do that. um, but then, insights, intuitive information comes through, and it might be from prior life experiences, traumas, that might be blocking or impeding the flow in your life in some aspect, or creating some kind of conflict or disturbance. It might be information around past life experiences that are impacting dynamics, or maybe there's a work relationship where actually you had different roles together at some other point in time, and it's playing out now, but with this insight we can clear it. And then even during that session, intuitively I get what practices. We'll maybe do some breath work or some energy exercises to start clearing and strengthening your system. And then from there, if someone chooses to go on, then I bring in the artwork. I've found that painting it's more like a meditation and an energy work session. Like, it's a quantum energy work session where I tune into the person's energy and we process it at a completely different level.
What does that do for the person? How does that? Tell me more.
Yeah. So the first one is what I've been calling an energy vortex painting. So it's basically like at a given point in time, we have this, each of us has our own energy vortex that we are seeking to align to bring in and manifest all that we wish to experience and create in our lives. But when we're out of alignment, meaning there's some kind of conflict energetically, emotionally, or in our beliefs with what it is we want to create, then it's like we're coming up against a wall and it's never going to come into form. So this energy vortex painting, I go into a meditative state, going into your energy, and over a number of painting sessions come to completion. And here's an example of one that I've done for somebody. So,
I love that.
Yeah, so it carries the energies right now for this person that over this period of time resonates with what they want to bring into their life. And then I share with you how to have it in your space or relate to it as a meditation piece where you can place your attention to come into alignment. And then you have a visual and the energetic embodiment of what you want to bring in. So it's helping you beyond just thinking about it and doing more mental processes. So beyond that goes to the energy to help you keep coming back into that alignment.
That's really nice, because sometimes if you're just doing words, my little brain goes everywhere. To have a visual that you could focus in on it. And I imagine what I'm hearing you say, and I'm just double checking this, there is energy in this painting. So it's not just the pretty colors, but there's more going on there that is also focusing you in.
Exactly. It carries the actual energy.
Got it.
I've found. And, behind me, I have a few paintings as well. So this one, this is more of a general theme. It's not for a particular person. It really resonates with my energy. But it's the sun of self-empowerment and manifestation. So that one kind of connects to those energies and helps bring us into alignment with that. This particular one, I'm not sure whose this is yet, but it's I'm going to be introducing a business vortex um, program eventually. And that is more like identifying the qualities that are the essence of your business. So 3 to 5
Wow.
qualities that's beyond what you literally do, but that, is the energy behind it. And then we identify the colors that each quality resonates with. And then I put that into a painting. And so then you have that energy to go to every time you sit down to work on your business, to meet with a client, to develop a new offering, to do some marketing. And you're infusing that and it becomes like a beacon to the people who are seeking that out.
That's nice. That's very enticing. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So and then beyond that, so that energy is carried in the paintings, but there's also a quantum process where we connect and we have the sessions, and it's also all about supporting the person and strengthening their intuition. So I get this insight, I get information. Maybe there's a story, maybe it's something, but at the same time, my focus is on supporting the person in strengthening their own discernment, checking in with, does this resonate with me? Am I having a reaction to what's being said or getting defensive in some way? Then it's like, okay, there's something to look at there. Now, does it mean it's true or not or whatever? Like everything's story. So what's the energy behind the story? And if it's coming through, I found it serves in some way, but it's always about coming back to your own experience to develop your trust in that. Not that, oh, I'm going to fix something or I'm going to tell you how it is.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all that. I was going to ask you how your art fit into the work, but you just told me, so you answered that. You had
Yeah.
another picture that you did for animals. I don't know if you've got, it looked like you had something else to show me. So
Yeah. So yeah, there are a couple of things. And just, like the other thing that I do is over a longer period of time working with somebody, combined with sessions, I do a quantum painting. I call it a quantum support painting, where if somebody has a couple of specific issues that they are focusing on, that I want some resolution to this, or I want to expand this in my life or bring it in, then we go into the specifics of that. And then I do a painting over time that's really intuitive, and I'm holding the space. So there's the daily support just inherent, and then the picture and the painting evolves from, let's see, I'll show this one because I've been given permission. Started with a sketch. You can't even see it. It's just a simple pen sketch. And then I do some studies.
Oh, very nice.
The little studies that carry the energy, and then I start putting it onto canvas, and over time it evolves and it evolves.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and this one is still in process, but what I've found is that it has real life tangible impact.
Dang.
Yeah, and it's coincided with real results in the person's life. Like I'll just wake up and be like, oh, I need to work on that painting, and I'll go into it, take some photos, share them with the client, and then I'll hear back from them, oh my gosh, this happened today at this time or shortly after or the next day or that same week. This major thing that I was hoping to bring into my life happened.
Cool.
So it's this co-creation
That's
happening.
beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, maybe show the pet picture that you did. I think this is the first one because I asked you about if you worked with animals, and here it is.
Yeah. So this is the first time, and I had thought about doing pet portraits at one point before I realized that it was actually going to be energy work. So this is a family's portrait. of their vortices. And it's like there's the combined integrated vortex. And then this is their person right
Yeah.
here. And then this is the two sibling cats.
They're so different. Well, and I'm not surprised. I've got two sibling cats. What am I saying? I know.
Yeah, yeah. I had no idea what was going to happen with this because it was a complete, new thing.
Yeah.
But it's so cool.
You can see one is actually the little pinky is hanging right on to mom, and the other one's got a little more independence, is what it feels like. So,
Very much
okay.
so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
exactly. So
Well, thank you. I hope you keep doing that. I think there's going to be some people interested in getting that kind of portrait. Um, Becca, thank you so much for sharing all your gifts with us today. Tell me real quick, and I'm going to put it in the under the video. I'll put the links and all that here. But where can people find you?
yes, so you can find me. My website is innerfirevisioning.com.
Okay.
And then I'm also on Instagram at becca.innerfire.
Okay, great. And do you do remote work?
I do.
You do.
I
Okay,
do.
just checking.
Yeah, so online and remote, definitely.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for this. This has been such a pleasure. All right, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody and have a great day and start thinking about getting some inner work done.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth. Thank you, everybody.